Hey everyone, Rob from Southgate Media Group here. Before we get started with this podcast, we have a quick message. If this is your first time checking out the show, we love that you found us and we really hope you enjoy it. What we have to say is for the subscribers. If you enjoy our shows, would you please donate to help keep these going? We don't want to have to put traditional ads on these shows, but this does cost money. So we really do rely heavily on donations. To make a donation to the show, please go to our website, www.southgatemediagroup.com. Go to the page for the show, and in the upper right-hand corner is a donate button. It takes you right to PayPal, and you can donate whatever amount you want. Thanks a lot for listening, everybody. And now, on with the show.
Everybody, welcome to this special episode of Biters, where we have the privilege and the honor of having one of the actors from this past season on with us for an interview, Eric Jensen, who played Dr. Edwards in 3 episodes, starting with Slab Town. So, Eric, welcome to Biters.
Thanks for having me here.
Eric reached out to me about, he saw the print I did of Slab Town. And he was really gracious about it and appreciative of it and gave me a lot of great tweets and stuff like that. And then we kind of talked to each other a few times and kind of decided this would be a great way to get some more exposure for him and the show and for the Biters.
Well, I don't want to blow smoke up your stack, but actually the person who sent it to me was Scott Gimple and said, Eric, you got to see this. So.
Scott has been a really big supporter of these tributes that I've been doing, and it's just I can't thank him enough. He's a really great guy.
Well, you're an excellent artist. I started out in New York as a cartoonist. I drew in a comic book for High Times magazine. I drew for a hemp hat company that made hemp clothing. As a cartoonist, I had a whole family that instead of playing sports and stuff, I had this family on my mom's side of sculptors and artists, and my uncle who was a cartoonist. So early on, he was introducing me to Walt Kelly and Winsor McCay and some really just sort of the icons of American illustration. He made me grow an appreciation for Norman Rockwell as an illustrator, who I thought was really kitschy, but man, technically that guy really knows what he's doing.
Absolutely.
And so I grew up in this kind of art household where art was being made all the time, and so I never really had any formal training as a cartoonist except from my uncles and aunts, and it's just something I picked up sort of along the way.
So following up on that lead, our first question was kind of how you're both a cartoonist and an actor. How did that come about?
Well, let me flip it back around again one more time, just to say, I really love your work. If I could do what you do, I would quit what I do now. I would never get on television again. I would just do that because it's such a I know where you go when you're spending time doing that, and it's a really peaceful place to live. And I wish people had more of an opportunity and more of a time.
Eric, you might not have that opinion if you read Jeff and I's comic book, The Girl and the Four Tigers.
Well, no, but I mean, when you're working on a script and you're working the story and stuff, but when you're actually physically making it, the act of drawing and the act of making art is it's a lot like. It's a lot like.
Aren't there correlations though between that, what you're describing there, in terms of doing a two-dimensional art form and acting?
Yes, and that's why I do both. I really love creating my own universes. That's what we did with that. I'll send you guys a copy. Did I send you guys a copy yet?
Not yet.
No, but I want one.
Sorry, I'll send you a couple. I'll send you a bunch. You can give them away as prizes for people who write the best letter to you guys or get you the most tweets or whatever. But
Oh, nice.
yeah, I'll send you a bunch. I'll send you a crate of them. But I love being the engine of creating worlds, and I love that concept of things. It's sort of like being a session musician. You go in, somebody throws a line at you, and you play it. I'm sorry. I love creating worlds. It's not like being a session musician. You're like the conductor, right? But there are some days where you just want to be a session musician, and you want to go in and just fulfill somebody else's vision. And when I'm acting, that's really what I'm doing. I feel like I'm part of a larger vision, and I feel I learn the most there. I mean, from Ernest Dickerson and from Scott Gimple and Robert Kirkman, just about storytelling, just being able to have the experience of being on that set as an actor, fully committing to that thing, but then to be able to step away from it and go, okay, let's look at everything from a different angle. Let's think about the storytelling. What happened? We just shot that. Like, what was the storytelling about? So instead of going, I memorized early, so I didn't have to go back to the room and memorize the next night. I memorized the scripts before I show up. But so in terms of going back there, it was like this incredible learning experience. Like, it's like I've never stopped being at college. It's fantastic. I mean, those guys are like master storytellers. I wrote it to somebody today, and I mean, it sounds a little like highfalutin or whatever, but I think this is like, Oliver Twist was a huge deal when it was published weekly. I think it was published weekly, and I think I'm not mistaken about that. And it was a reflection of its time, and I really think that as a piece of visual literature, I think when Walking Dead is hopefully never, but when it eventually does come to a close and they come to the final ending of it, it's going to be held up in a time capsule. It's something really important. So.
That's very interesting. How do you feel that it's going to? How do you think that Walking Dead reflects our current society?
I don't. Actually, Scott has a better answer to that than I do. His answer is much more eloquent and more true. From my perspective, I think. I think when we think apocalyptically, what we're really thinking of is our own fear of being broken down into our basest elements, and maybe what lurks there. I mean, like I said to Scott on set, the zombies have stopped being scary in the movie. It's the people. I mean, the scariest episode that I've seen all season, and everybody has their favorite, but it was 5-1 at the Terminus thing. I watched it with my friend Nathan Fillion, and it was just, we were literally like, us guys who do this for a living. We know there's a grip over here and a gaffer over here and a camera over here.
No Sanctuary?
I'm talking about the first 5.1, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
No Sanctuary, and it just I was yelling at the television.
Yeah.
When he grabbed that baby's neck, I literally yelled, "Don't kill the baby!" Like, yeah. It was like and that's why their storytelling is what would I do? Well, I hope I would run out the door and sacrifice myself. And these people live up to our hopes, the ones that we relate to, and we each have our own person to relate to, I don't know. I don't think Edwards necessarily falls under that category right now, but who knows?
Cool.
Yeah. Am I answering your questions coherently?
Absolutely.
I feel like, okay, I kind of go around in circles sometimes.
All the other stuff that comes out of the questions is sometimes the best stuff.
Okay, all right. I just don't want to do anything canned. I don't want to sound like I prepared anything.
No, not at all. That's
okay.
We never prepare anything, so
can't you
fly off the cuff?
But I mean, so as a storyteller, from somebody who's now when I step back from that, and my job is no longer as an actor. When I step back, I feel like I've gone to get my doctorate. I feel like I've gone to graduate school. I feel like I've played with the big boys, and that's always and that's the cool thing. Like, if you meet anybody, something that you're not good at, they're the big boys. So like, I've learned from guys in the camera department. I learned from guys in the special effects department. And it alters my storytelling. It alters the way I approach my own scripts and my own writing. So it's all very valuable for me.
Would you say, as an actor, then you have changed after this experience? And if so, how?
Yeah, well, the first thing that happened was I've been doing this for 25 years, but I'm kind of an introvert. I always see my job is to go on to something and make the other actor better. Like my job is to go on and give them such a good performance that they'll give a good performance back. It's not about me, it's about them. I want to give them my best, and I want to give my director the most committed thing, right? It's never been about anything else for me. And so I've always prided myself into disappearing into things. Like, not a lot of Walking Dead people know that I played Thurman Munson in The Bronx is Burning, because it's a completely different guy. And I don't even know who that guy is anymore. I walked away from that a long time ago. I'm just using it as an example of, like, kind of, I really like to hide in parts. I don't like the other part. So sort of being on The Walking Dead is kind of like leaving the theater and being by the stage door all the time. And I engage with it because I love that people are excited about the show. But, the next day, I got on the subway to go do something in the city. I'd pick up, like, veggie bacon or something for my daughter. And I'm on the L train, and I kept having this feeling of, like, somebody's staring at me. I'm going to get mugged. Like, because I've lived in New York for so long. And then I looked, and I was getting these furtive glances from people. And it's the kind of look that you get from somebody that you went to high school with, like 10 years after you went to high school with them, And so I spent the entire day, like, on edge and paranoid, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, do I have something on my face? And then I remembered about halfway through the day, I was like, oh, right. This is what happens when 16 million people see something that you're in rather than 4 million or 8. Right. Like, and this is 1/1,000,000th of what Andy and Norman have to deal with. But I get that now. And that's a really be careful what you wish for thing when you're kind of a private creative person, So I engage with it. I engage with people because they love the show, and I love that they love my work, and it's very cool to hear that. But it's a little bit like going back in time over and over and over again, at glory days, So it's
funny that you mentioned.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, sorry to interrupt. I was just going to say it's funny that you mentioned how your prior roles kind of get lost with every. Especially with this role, people will remember you specifically for this. You were on another show that I'm a big fan of, The Americans. You were Bruce Dameron on that.
Right. I got to work with the CDC guy from season 1 with Noah.
Yeah. So for me, when I was looking to see what else you had been on, and I was like, oh yeah, now I remember him. He was on The Americans, right? Yeah. Well, it's funny, going back to something else you said about your how you strive to raise other actors in scenes with you.
I don't want to sound arrogant when I say that. What I want to do is I give them my best, because giving them anything less would be a disservice to them.
Absolutely, sure.
Yeah.
No, we got it. But what I was going to point out was how the scenes that you had with Christine Woods, who was Officer Lerner, there's times when you watch interaction between two characters, and we really got the sense that there was a history between you two, and there was the conflict between you guys was real. This wasn't just two actors running through their lines. You guys had a history. So I think that kind of plays to your point that you both kind of fed off each other for those scenes and made them very very engaging.
Well, she has the same philosophy as I do, and that's when I have the most fun. And not the exact same. I mean, that sounds kind of fascist. No, but I mean, she has the same approach. Like, and when two people meet like that, like, we started to talk about it a little bit, like, wow, this is really great chemistry. This is like an old married couple that, like, can't stand each other anymore. They've gotten divorced and they have to fucking live together.
Right.
And then we started to go there, and we're like, no, you know what? Let's just leave it on the floor. And, like, my whole mantra for Slab Town was leave blood on the floor, leave blood on the floor, leave blood on the floor. It was just like that. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to just and Michael, the director, just made it easy. He's the same guy who directed The Grove last year, the Chad Coleman thing. That Chad and Melissa were so amazing in. Yeah. So Michael made sure that I had room to do that. It was like magic, man. It was like everything you would imagine about joining the circus, except the scary carnies are the special effects guys.
Ha!
Well, I'm gonna jump in here to blow smoke up your chimney, because and you can go back and check if you have any interest in listening to our podcast. But when we reviewed Slabtown, both Jeff and I were really enamored with and taken with your performance. We thought it was kind of a standout for the entire episode, and I'm not just saying that now because you're on the show, but we said that back then. And one of the things that was so incredible, I thought, was that, and I'm sure some of this or a lot of this has to do with writing too, but you can have great written parts that fall flat because they're not executed properly. But there was such a transformation, at least from the point of view of a viewer's opinion of this character, from the beginning of that episode to the end of that episode.
Yeah.
And, one thing that's fantastic, about episodic television and about the Walking Dead in particular is the evolution of characters. Look at Beth, for example, and how she evolved. Look at some of the other characters.
Melissa McCarthy. I mean, her character is just like. She's a.
But you did that in one episode. which was incredible. In the beginning of the episode, there was, I felt a connection to this guy. I thought he was a good guy. He was helpful. He was concerned. He was caring.
Yeah.
By the end, it was clear he was a manipulative. He was a part of the system. He was actually promoting the system, and that was just brutal.
It's like learning your parents are imperfect. It's just like, well, and that's the. Yeah, and I swear to you, I want to chew up as much scenery as the next guy. I tried to twist my mustache a couple of times, and Michael and Scott, to their credit, would not let me. And that was the best part. They just let me be me with my. I mean, I'm a record hound. I've got the Bruce Springsteen vinyl here, Bob Dylan's Biograph. I've got every Led Zeppelin album ever, Velvet Underground. I mean, I literally, and then I've got Son House and Skip James and a lot of these Muddy Waters. These are I'm a music geek, and so when I got the script and the guy was playing that blues record at the beginning, the Junior Kimbrough record, I was just like, is Scott planting cameras in my house? So the core, but that's not a testament to anything that I did. It's a testament to writing that's easy to memorize and easy to channel. And it's no simple thing. There's a lot of complex feeling under that writing. And there's as much complex feeling under that as there was for me as a human being the first time that I read Waiting for Godot. A place where nothing happens. A place where it's the same routine over and over and over again, and all of a sudden, what happens when a new virus, a new idea comes into that closed circuit? I mean, they do magic there. They have a great magic show, and it's a real pleasure to be a part of it.
So let me ask a question about when it comes to the script. So they give you the script for Slabtown, and even the successive episodes. Do you get the whole script? So are you able to see? Okay, here's the whole episode I get from front to back. And where I'm going to lead with this is on that last episode. So did you know what was going to happen to Beth?
It's all a blur. I don't quite remember. Let me think. I got the whole script for Slabtown delivered. I know that the whole script for
Coda
7 and 8. What was the title of 7?
Crossed.
For Crossed and Coda, I got a third of one script and 2/3 of another. Just what they felt I needed to know. However, since I'm present for the shooting, of Beth, I think I knew it, and she knew it. I mean, I think by the time 7 rolled around and I showed up, she knew what was going on, and she knew she had to leave this wonderful family that I'd only had the pleasure of being part of for a short time and felt very attached to. And I could only imagine how hard that must be. It would be hard for. I'm sure it's hard for every single cast member. But things change, and you got to move on to the next gig. That's the beautiful thing of being invisible, doing this for 22 years, is that I've learned that. So
now,
yeah.
Were you a fan of the Walking Dead comic before the show?
Yeah, I got them around here somewhere. I got the big, large compendiums, like the big ones, because those are easier to. Yeah, but I got them around here somewhere. They're. I think I've read a little over half the comics, and I was a fan of the show, but I was only 2 years in on the show because I binge watched TV, but only by the year.
Okay.
And then I jump to something else and come back. It makes it last longer.
So what's your favorite episode so far of the entire show? I know you said that this No Sanctuary was really an eye popper. Is there any others that you feel connected to?
Let me think. 5-1, definitely, because cannibals just scare the hell out of me. I mean, people eating people. I mean, that shit happens, and it just scares the. I watched Snowpiercer recently too, which I was like, I'm not going to watch this, and I watched it. It was just horrifying. I was horrified.
That's the train with Chris Evans, right?
Yeah, it was. I thought, oh, there's no way this is going to get me. There's no way. It's that Korean director, the famous director. And I was once I bought the premise, which was actually quite easy to do. I was sucked right in, and I thought it was wonderful. Ridiculous, but wonderful. Let's see. Other episodes. I mean, I'm a big fan of Michael's, so look at the flowers. The
Grove.
The Grove.
Right.
I mean, it's part of one. Like I said, it's like part of one big novel, and like removing a part of it that you don't like or like more than anything is I don't want to. There's part of my brain just doesn't want me to categorize it. No, I'm trying to think of, like, I don't keep track of titles, and I'm not as obsessive as most of the fans are. I'm really love the show, I love Battlestar Galactica, but I've only watched it once,
Right.
So I'm trying to remember. Give me a second.
No problem. Jeff, you want to?
I mean, the thing is, I know Chad Coleman, and I thought that that's why I keep going back to The Grove. The Grove is my favorite episode because I know Chad. It had kids in it, which I relate to because I have a kid. And Chad acted in it. He's a brilliant stage actor. I mean, if anybody ever has a chance to see him, they should. But Chad was in a play that I wrote 7 or 8 years ago, and so I know Chad, and his work was just, him and Melissa together were just stunning. I mean, it was like watching just the implications of that scene were just enormous.
Yeah, I feel like so far they've probably underutilized him and his character to some degree. I think that it's a big cast, and you've got the leads and everything else, but so it makes it hard. But that was definitely a standout episode for us as well, and their performances were great. We're also both fans of The Wire. Jeff's a crazy fan of The Wire.
Yeah.
Seth Gilliam is also a friend. I did Bronx is Burning with him, and I was really happy to see him on the show as well. I mean, like, talk about it geeking out. I like. There are only a few people I get nervous about, and they're mostly the people who do my favorite shows, and The Wire is just, but Seth's a great guy. I like Seth a lot.
Is there a story at all behind how you got the part? I mean, how did you get the part in The Walking Dead?
Okay, well, this is interesting, actually. I really, I think I've auditioned for the show, like on tape, like 3 or 4 times.
Oh.
The last audition that I remember having previous to this one was for Eugene.
Oh, wow.
So somewhere out there's a tape of me trying to figure out how to do what that guy does, and I can't. Like, I mean, literally, like, he's so channels what the essence of that you can't explain it.
Yeah.
And so that's the one I remember. There was one from a few years ago too, but I don't remember what that was. And then this, when I auditioned for it, I got a bunch of sides with my name on them, with a banner, my name on them underneath, and the do not reveal the contents of this to anybody, or you will, have to give blood, all of it. It was like so for special effects. So I didn't know what to make of it, and the scene was about an art historian who had stabbed another art historian in the back by betraying them somehow in the art history world, and then there was that little speech about the painting, about art's not about survival, it's transcendent, which Scott wrote. And the second that I read that, I immediately was in love with the character. And the second that he said that in the fake scene that I got, it switched to her calling me in my betrayal. So for the scene, I played, camaraderie, betrayal at the end. So in a way, with that one scene, it reflected my entire episode that I did. And within that one fake scene that they made, they did the arc of the entire character, which I'm really happy to hear carried through to the rest of the show.
Oh, absolutely.
And then my wife put me on tape. My wife's a really good director. Like I said, it memorizes like butter. So there wasn't a lot of work for me to do on it. I think it's the 25 years of work I did previous to this that got me The Walking Dead, not that audition.
What were the other tapes? You said one was for Eugene. You said there was 3. I'm curious.
I don't know what the law is about this stuff. So I don't know. No, it's okay. I can't. Norman's part. No. Can you imagine that? How silly would I look in a leather jacket with wings on the back of it? That's the only one I can remember for sure. I don't remember the others.
You brought up the comparison, the artwork, and the comparison to the painting and that whole sequence and that scene, which was a fantastic scene. Mm. One of the questions we wanted to ask you was that completely like orchestrated the way it felt like it was? In other words,
intentional.
The painting of Peter and your seating in that final scene, was that all planned out? Because I just rewatched it yesterday, and your head lines up perfectly with Peter in that painting. You know what I mean? And it was just like it was a great visual of that. What then followed in terms of the dialogue.
Can I be honest with you?
Yes, please.
I had no idea. And that's, again, like the DP and the director, like the chemistry of this show. You cannot cast chemistry or put together chemistry better than this. The fact that I was doing my gig and they were doing that while I was doing my gig, you never get that kind of synergy on a show. It's like playing in the Rolling Stones, It's just like you're with these people who have played for a long time, and you just strap on your guitar and go,
So they just said, okay, here's where you're going to sit, and here's your lines, and here's where she's.
Here's where you're going to sit. Here's where she's going to sit. Here's your lines. But like my research on Peter was about his compassion and his betrayal and all of that stuff. So I did the emotional work by learning about him, and then saying, oh God, that must have felt terrible, and doing all of my sort of homework and stuff. So when it came time to do the scene, that's where I was. I wasn't in the other spot. Until you told me that now, I had no idea. I will tell you one thing, though, that I think nobody has picked up on. Maybe it's because I didn't do it very well. Just a little bit. I don't know if I should tell you this or not. Well, but when Beth gets shot, I had a reaction to it, and I couldn't figure out where it came from. And I actually think that my hands, when she gets shot, are the same as Peter's in the picture.
Oh,
interesting.
So I'm not sure, and it was subconscious. Certainly, it's nothing that I intended on set. But I left, and I was like, why did my body do that weird thing? So who knows? I mean, and then you have to do it over and over and over again, like the same way, from a different angle, so it all matches. But it was like, but that was the take that they seemed to like, and so I was like, okay, so I'm doing that.
How many takes did they do for that scene?
Oh man, that was awesome. I have never seen a director dissect fear before. Ernest Dickerson is a genius. We came up to that scene in the hallway. I think that scene took an entire day. I think we shot that scene all day long. There might have been one thing before it, but we came up in the hall, and the cameras were angled in a way I've never seen them before. And that was the moment I went, oh, Ernest Dickerson, like the guy who shot Do the Right Thing.
Yeah.
Ernest Dickerson. I was like, that Ernest Dickerson. and I got to say, that day it was a little tough for me because I got starstruck about 2 minutes before we started rolling, and I think I fucked up a take, and it was a minor thing or whatever, but he got me back to center. He just came up and looked in my eyes and was like, "Are you here?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm here." You're here, huh? I was like, I am now, sir.
There with the entire crew. I mean, everybody was there, the whole entire team.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah, I'm here, and I'm here, and my feet got grounded right away. It was awesome. I worked with one other guy who's able to do that, and that's Walter Hill, who directed The Warriors, and I think was partially responsible for Alien, at least as a writer and producer, I think. So but they have that same kind of power. They're grounded men. I can't imagine anybody better to shoot that, to direct and that episode. It was stunning. Again, a masterclass. I don't mean to sound too I don't want to get into process filmmaking stuff here. That's the stuff that excites me. So if you guys want me to talk about something else, I can. But that's
when you said there were a number. You did it all day. Did you guys just keep doing it the same way but different angles and stuff, or was there other possible outcomes or ways that exchange took place that we didn't get to see?
You mean, did they shoot alternate endings and stuff like that?
Not much alternate endings. I'm assuming the way it ended was the way it was going to end. But
yeah, we shot what we shot.
But I mean, in other words, like the way she shot, at what point in the exchange she shot, anything like that, was that done differently in different ways?
No, what was really lovely about it. And this is the other thing that pulled me back to center and really took my ego out of myself, which is where it needed to be. It needed not to be activated. There was like this lovely, caring way that things were talked about between Christine and Emily and Mr. Dickerson, and the AD. It was like this. It was like watching a dance. I know that, I don't want to sound like hyperbolic or something like that, but there was something so gentle about it and lyrical about it, almost musical about watching them work together, that there was an atmosphere of safety around them, that they were safe to go where they needed to go, that was so well preserved throughout the day. The other thing I will say is that example was set by Andy and Norman. I have never seen two more dedicated people on set together with absolutely no bullshit between them. And they're lined up, Butch and Sundance, man. Like they've got, they came in hot before the scene started, and they let go slow after the director yelled cut. And that is exactly what you want when you're shooting that kind of scene. You don't want anybody to goof off, And it was unbelievable. It was I want to say it was somber, but Emily's attitude was so great that she would go in, she'd go there, and then she'd come out, and we'd hang out and talk music, So I've never seen anybody dissect fear like that in my life before. It was a privilege. I felt like I was in the Sistine Chapel, and I was watching Michelangelo do his thing. It was unbelievable.
Well, it's really cool to hear this perspective, the quote unquote insider's perspective, because, well, not quote unquote, you're the insider's perspective, because I think the perception is just, actor shows up, rips his lines, and then it's cut, and then you go on to the next one, and it's
right.
It's cool to hear about the process and what you guys have to go through to get to, like you said, it's a ballet. It's a choreography of emotions and characters and all this stuff. So it's cool to hear about the process.
Well, I mean, but it makes sense though. If you look at Robert Kirkman's drawings, I mean, to go back to not his drawings. Who's the artist again?
Charlie Adler.
If you look at his drawings and the way that Robert and he laid them out as a duo of storytellers, it has that kind of lyrical quality to it. There's a great deal of care put into how those pages are drawn that I really appreciate. There's a great deal of poetry in those very straightforward line drawings that I just, you could look at a million pictures of Spawn, which I also enjoy, and just not have the same kind of emotional experience as something that's presented so simply. It's a world that you can easily project yourself into because nothing's imposed upon you.
Yeah.
That has to do, I think, with Mr. Kirkman's respect for his audience.
Yeah.
He doesn't dumb it down. He doesn't dumb it down for us,
Right.
I would agree with you, and I think the evidence for that being true is even more so evident in the last year or so of since Scott Gimple has come on as the showrunner, because I think the show has worked harder to align itself with the book, and we're seeing a closer manifestation of the book. And as a result, that lyricism, to use your terminology, is starting to transpose and transfer to the shots and the images in the show. And to your point, I think making it even stronger.
That is a, and I mean, I know a lot of people would like to probably say this because they want spoilers, which is something I completely don't understand. But you know, that's a writer's room I'd like to be on a fly on the wall of.
Oh
like,
yeah.
I'm writing right now. I'm writing with Tom Fontana, who's another Da Vinci of television writing, and being in that room with him is so interesting. I would love to be in the room just for a day of a show that I worked on, of this show, just to hear what they say, just to hear how the conversation goes. Because, you know, Scott and I have developed an acquaintanceship outside of the show, and we really do like each other. And we've written back and forth a few times. And the way he even writes letters is so thoughtful and so generous. He didn't have to engage with me as a human being. He could have said, you know, thank you so much, Eric, and we'll, you know, hopefully we'll get to work together again someday. But he has actually engaged with me as an artist, which is a real gift. I think he like me loves to learn from others, and he's a much better listener than I am, though. So that's something I have to work on.
Let's see. We had a couple other questions.
Okay.
There was a lot of hell imagery in the Slabtown episode, like the elevator shaft with the zombies at the bottom. At one point, Joan says to Beth about Gorman, "It's easy to make a deal with the devil if you're not paying the price." Do you know if were they intentionally trying to make the hospital feel like a manifestation of hell, like a metaphor for hell, or was that not something that was actually discussed, or, you know, on that level?
I don't think it needed to be discussed because it was hot as hell. The rooms were Atlanta is so humid sometimes. And this one day, the day that we were doing, I believe, the arm cutting off scene, you know, they got to turn off the air conditioner between takes or it makes noise and screws the sound department. They want to get it all live. They don't want to put me in a booth, which they didn't have to do very much either because the sound guys are amazing. And so, but you know, all of that sweat isn't something that somebody sprayed on me. Like, we had to take off jackets. They were like, you know, raiding the truck for old costumes and stuff like that to get the right. I mean, it was hot. It was just like, you know, like, it was just horrible. And they had to dry out my coat with a hairdryer, and we were moving a lot too, so that was compounding it. It was like creating this hot house atmosphere. The elevator shaft was. I mean, like, people don't, like, know what went into making that. Like, that shot that they did there had to have been planned out for weeks. They built a giant platform that was a story high to make that elevator shaft look real. They recreated the hospital on a platform above the stage that could hold, you know, 50, 60, 70 people at a time. Like, they put as much work into building this platform in this hallway as you would put into building a house. And there was electricity that was run into it too. Like, and it was in the middle of the soundstage. It was like in the middle of an airplane hangar. So when we went to shoot that scene, you know, I was informed right before I shot it that it would just be one long dolly shot. And I'm not a real doctor. I play one on TV. I don't know my way around a gurney. And I put down the arms of the gurney. I'm like, okay. Like, and now it is the hardest thing that I've ever had to do, to give the line in sort of a laissez-faire kind of easy way, to deal with this body like I've never seen one before, and to actually, you know, do all of that, and then to dump the body down the shaft. The first time I tried to dump it down, the body got stuck. And I was shaking it off, trying to play it through, and I was like, "Oh no, the body is stuck." And it was, and then we turned it around, and we couldn't figure out which way it would go to do it properly. Finally, we worked it out, and I was going too fast. Emily really needed me to slow down because I was going way too fast. And then finally, I think it was on the fourth take, we got it, and then they moved on. They didn't need to do another one. I think they were really expecting to be shooting that more of the day. So for me, it was very satisfying. But when I saw it, and when I saw that body tumble down, it when they added the special effects later, I almost turned off the TV. I would have if my wife hadn't been sitting next to me watching it. I didn't want to know what's down there. So is that a manifestation of hell? It sure felt like it when I watched it, but I don't know. I don't know. So
Cool.
is that, are these stories, like, these seem completely mundane and boring to me. So if, like, this is at all interesting to you guys, I hope it is to other people.
Fascinating, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fascinating. It gives us a window into the whole thing.
Yeah, sure.
I think our audience is going to love it.
Well, I love filmmaking. I love the process of filmmaking. I love the concept of people from completely different parts of the country, different backgrounds, different sexual orientations, different creeds, different religions, different musical tastes. You know, it was just like it was this polyglot of people. It was like a slice of America. You know, it was. I don't know. It's hard to explain.
So how does this role, the Walking Dead, how does this compare to, how does this rate to other roles that you've had? That's probably a crap question to ask, isn't it? Because they're all like different, and you bring in something to every role. So for you to sit and ask you what your top 3 roles are is probably a dumb question. You can say it.
No, the role that changed my life on stage was in Disgraced by Ayad Akhtar, and that we did at Lincoln Center last year, and it won a Pulitzer. Not me, Ayad did, because it's a brilliant play. So that's one of the first ones, because it really changed I had to learn the part in 48 hours. It was the same day that my wife that her television show got canceled. So it was a very good but also very hard time for us. The second role that turned my life around was Thurman Munson, because he's just so different from me as a human being, and it was a complete transformation. I gained 25 pounds for the part, and he was a New York Yankee. You guys are probably not old enough to remember him. He died in a plane crash.
Oh, yeah.
I remember him.
And John Turturro played Billy Martin, and so that was, again, a masterclass. You know, you go with a guy, you know, who's... And then the most important one recently is this one. Denise, one of the producers, said to me that this is going to change your life, and I responded in my own head very cynically to that, because I thought she was saying something about being recognized, which is not something that I want. But she was actually talking about was changing me as an artist, and it did. It made me more serious about what I do, and it made me want to bring my A triple plus game rather than just my A game to every endeavor now. And also it made me want to write more, because Scott Gimple's a real inspiration. My wife and I are writing a pilot for Tom Fontana now, who wrote Oz and created Oz. And I like Scott as a human being, calmly fires on all cylinders, you know, and I really admire his ability to do that. And you know, I could just do acting a little bit 10 years from now, and maybe be a showrunner on something. If it was a genre thing, I'd be really, really happy, because I liked writing this comic book. I liked writing The Reconcilers. It was a blast. Drawn by a guy named Shep Hendricks. Do you know him?
Not familiar with him, no.
He did a great graphic novel called Stagger Lee, about Stagger Lee. Won Eisner Award, I think, or got nominated, or I mean, he's won a couple Eisner Awards for his work.
Wow.
And I mean, like, I like making worlds, but like, again, you know, it's like there's some days you just want to come in and be a session musician, and you know, I can say that I played guitar with, you know, Parliament Funkadelic, or, you know, I mean, pick your band. I played guitar with The Clash. It's more punk rock than Parliament Funkadelic. The experience is more punk rock than that. But I got to play with like one of the best bands in the world. Like that's not a thing that gets to happen all the time. So that's what I get to walk away with. And if people want to watch the show over and over and over again, I think that just is awesome, because it's worth studying. I'll watch myself once. I'll never see the episodes again. So.
Well, listen, you brought it up, so let's ask the question. We understand you co-created a graphic novel, and you've mentioned it a couple times. Tell us a little bit about, you know. Oh, have
I elbowed it in there a couple of times?
Promote.
Dude, I feel like a whore doing this. I really do. I really don't like talking about myself. I know I'm talkative, but that doesn't mean I enjoy it. And I hope that I haven't been too self-indulgent. I'm from Minnesota, and I don't do this shit very often. So thank you for being so warm and receptive and stuff like that, and not being like my other Johns.
well, in our defense, money hasn't exchanged, so it's not exactly a whore.
Oh, I'm paying for the Slabtown print. You're not going to weasel out of that because artists need to get paid. Artists get paid. So yeah, reconcilers. I had a couple of now friends approach me a few years ago. A guy named I think we did the 2010 Comic-Con. A guy named R. Emery Bright and Pielgard.
San Diego or New York?
San Diego. And like we made this comic. They had this idea for a script, and we kind of talked about it, and they kind of wanted to scrap that, and they wanted to do a comic book about the reconcilers, about what would happen if conflicts between corporations was resolved in the arena. And, what the concept of a hostile takeover changes if you've got gladiators battling it out, which is a little bit rollerball, but I was actually more interested in telling a story about their main character that they had a notion about, who's a person who has PTSD and comes back from that to find himself again. It's kind of my comic book tribute to those great James Cameron team movies. Like, I love the idea of a team working together, and like an Alien, and
yep,
that's the team. I think the Terminator kind of breaks that; it becomes a duo. But I like the team aspect of Aliens, and I wanted to do something that sort of had that quality to it that happened in a dystopian future. So
now you were the writer.
As the writer, I helped design a lot of the characters. Shep Hendricks drew it, and it was co-created by me. R. Emery Bright, Pielgard, and the cover is by Neil Adams.
Oh wow!
Which doesn't suck, dude. So hanging out with him was like pretty cool. Like this is the thing, I never expected to be able to do the things that I wanted and loved. And like, look, it's like I'm eternally surprised that I'm on The Walking Dead. I'm eternally surprised that we made a comic book. I know all the work and stuff that went into it, but
Have you pitched the comic book as a premise for a show or a film?
Not yet, because right now we're working for Tom. We're developing something with Giancarlo Esposito from Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
I have to do I'm acting at La Jolla out in LA this year. I'm doing a play that we wrote about Lester Bangs, the rock critic. Phil Hoffman played him in Almost Famous.
Yeah, I saw the article it was LA Weekly or something.
Yeah.
I saw it. Very interesting.
So we've got sort of all these projects in the works, and it's doing a comic book thing right now. I think I'd really like to do something a creator-owned type thing. I'd like to do something with a larger company, so we don't have to provide our own infrastructure.
I would think that your connection with The Walking Dead would give you an audience with Mr. Kirkman and his company.
I actually just learned about his company the other day, and maybe if I can screw my courage up and have a good enough idea, I'll come to him with it. I mean, he had holes and issues at one point too, so maybe he'll throw me a line. We'll have to see. It's got to be good though. It's got to be up to a certain standard. If he doesn't like it, or if Alan Moore doesn't like it, I don't want to make it. So.
That's some high aspirations there. It's got to clear both.
I've never succeeded by aiming low.
That's AAA.
Yeah, no, I mean I'm an Alan Moore fan. I'm a fanatic. Like I think I also like Bill Willingham. I like Fables a lot.
Oh yeah, it's a great series.
Yeah, it's a great series. Do you guys have anything else? Am I wearing out my welcome?
I think we've asked our questions.
Great.
We just got one more question.
Okay, go ahead.
The last one was in the scene with Beth where she brings you lunch and the meat on the thing was supposed to be guinea pig. What was it really?
It was guinea pig. They flew it in from Ecuador or Peru. I don't remember which one. And I ate it.
And what was it like?
Chicken?
It tasted just like chicken. It was like gamey chicken. It actually tasted smokier than that. It was more like pheasant.
Okay.
And Yeah, no, it was.
But it really was guinea pig.
It was the real deal. They freeze dried them, or they didn't freeze dry them. They put them in a freezer and they had them shipped down. And the guy said, "Look," he said. It wasn't Michael. It was the prop. I think the prop guys are in charge of the food. There's a special thing that they have to do. And so he came up and I said, "Is that real?" And he said, "Yeah, and you can eat it if you want. I am not telling you what to do." He said, "I can cut you a little piece of chicken and I can hide it in there, and nobody will ever know." And I was like, dude, I am going to get a chance to eat guinea pig once in my life.
What about Emily Kinney? Was her piece guinea pig too, or was it chicken?
You know, I can't. I don't take any other actor's inventory. I think if she ate the guinea pig, she needs to fess up, and if she eats the chicken, she needs to fess up too. That's on her, not on me.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So in any event, no, it was, but it was that kind of set. I would have, if they'd put raw snake in front of me, I would have eaten that because I'll do backflips for those guys.
Wow.
And when people have that much respect for you, backflips.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah.
Well, Eric, it's been great talking to you, and I know we can't put you on the spot, or we wouldn't dare put you on the spot to ask you, if you were going to be coming back in future episodes or seasons, but just know that I know from Kirk and I's aspect, we'd love to see you again on the show, and we thought you were great as an actor, and your character was complex, and we would love to see Dr. Edwards again at some point. So hopefully, the powers that be can make that happen.
Yes.
Well, thank you for saying that. I love him as a character too. It's fun to inhabit him, and I like morally complex characters. So
the way they left it, there's always the possibility to go back there.
Yeah. We're not putting him on the spot. Don't put him on the spot.
I being on the spot is so interesting because you literally feel like you're on this giant spot surrounded by nothing. It literally, that's exactly how it feels. It's onomatopoetic. You are literally on a big giant spot, like a target.
Well, listen,
I was going to invite you guys over for dinner, which you have to do anyway.
We'd come as long as you're not serving guinea pig.
I won't serve guinea pig, but come to Brooklyn, have a beer, please.
Absolutely, we'd love to.
Okay, please.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
Take care, guys.